Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here, and I really do appreciate your time. I wanted to come on here today and give my my thoughts, my opinion, kind of advice as well later on in the video regarding this whole viral video of Adrienne Bailon and her husband Israel Houghton talking about how they got together, how their relationship has grown over the years, and it is particularly getting people talking because it's yet again one of those videos where you have people trying to rationalize what would be otherwise toxic behavior or dysfunction or just blatant, home wrecking or cheating with God, or it being ordained by God or God allowing it to happen. And in this situation, you have Israel Houghton, who, despite his position and career being a worship leader and singer, and is responsible for some of this worship staples. Listen, I may not be heavy in the church like I was, but in my early 20s, in my teens, I was always on someone's praise and worship team. I did regular praise and worship, so the regular Sunday, Wednesday night praise and worship, I was always one of the five, and I sang in a choir. Regardless of what church I was in, I was always singing. And Israel Houghton's whole CD, New Breed, that whole movement that he had in the early 2010s, it was heavily a part of my young Christian walk. So to find out in my late 20s, early 30s, that this man was cheating on his wife and running around and doing all types of stuff, that was very difficult for me to reconcile back then. Now my perspective is more or less, I see him as a man, regardless of what he happens to do for work or regardless of the type of music he happens to sing. This is clearly a character flaw that he has dealt with his entire life. And so in this particular clip that I'm getting ready to show, he talks about how him bearing his brokenness and kind of being honest about the fact that he's a cheater to Adrienne, how he thought it would scare her away, but instead it caused her to draw closer to him and even pray for him. So I'm going to play the clip. I'm also going to play another clip by Real Reality TV where they talk about this whole situation and give a bit more backstory. And this video is about 2 years old and it's still relevant. So I'm going to play these clips and come back.
The first time we ever prayed together, she prayed for me.
Oh my gosh.
That's crazy. I told her, this is what's going on in my life. It's bad. If once the world finds out, my life is over. My career's over. It's where I was at.
Because you're administrating.
Yes. And my livelihood was attached to whether people thought I was a Christian or not, or a superhuman Christian, by the way, like a super Christian. And what I shared with her was like embarrassing and painful and all that. And I expected her to go, see, all guys are the same.
To do that. Mm-hmm.
And she leaned across the table and she grabbed my hand and she just started praying for me. This is when we're still friends. And I sobbed at that little table. And she just basically said, God, please help this man know that he's not what he's done.
That's how I know moments like that are God. Because that's not my natural instinct. My natural instinct is not to be like, let me pray for you. My natural instinct would have been to be like,
oh no,
this is exactly.
Wait, I know this about you.
Yeah.
Your biggest fear used to be when you were dating.
Yeah.
Do you know what you used to always be afraid if you were dating, that somebody would cheat on you?
Oh, 100%. To be honest, it still is a very real thing for me. Like that to me would be the end. Like that to me is like
game over.
Game over. Yeah. So to really believe that and know that I've preached that on the real and to be that person and then marry someone who has been that didn't make sense to me at all in my logical mind. But in that moment, I don't know. That's how I know it was God. Because
Adrienne and her husband, Israel, love taking cutesy-wootsy photos for social media. On the surface, you can't deny that they're a beautiful couple. But based on the details they've shared with the public throughout the years, many people think their relationship has been doomed from the start. After Rob Kardashian cheated on Adrienne during their 2-year relationship, they broke up in 2009. And that same year, Adrienne moved on with Lenny Santiago. You may recognize Lenny as one of the most well-respected music execs in the industry. After 6 years of dating, she and Lenny got engaged in February 2015, only to break up 7 months later. She was still hopeful she'd find true love, but in the meantime, she made a pact with her hairstylist, Ray Christopher, to go half on a baby if neither of them found someone to settle down with. Meanwhile, Israel's 20-year marriage to a woman whom he shares 3 children with was in shambles. Israel also has an older son named Jordan from a previous relationship. In February 2016, Israel announced his marriage was over and that his divorce was already finalized. He also admitted that he had been unfaithful during his marriage. But wait, it gets worse. It was later revealed that Israel also fathered 2 children outside of his marriage. In case you've lost count, that's 6 children by 3 different women. For unknown reasons, Adrian still thought Israel was a good catch. According to People magazine, she and Israel had been friends for years.
He was my friend. He was genuinely my friend. And he'll let me say this, but like when we first met, he never thought I'd ever be interested in him. So he never tried to put the Mac on me like that.
And after finding out about his divorce, she tried to hook him up with some of her friends. After a few failed dates with her friends, Adrian started to realize that she and Israel had amazing chemistry. During an Instagram live chat with Fat Joe, Adrian said Israel won her over with his sense of humor. She also stated she has a reckless mouth and she can sometimes be too much of an alpha female, but Israel doesn't mind. She really vibed with him because he allowed her to be bossy, but he didn't hesitate to check her when he needed to. 1 month after Israel announced his divorce was finalized, he and Adrian were spotted looking cozy at a Mexico resort. The images of the 2 of them caused some major online drama, with social media users calling Adrian a homewrecker and blaming her for the demise of Israel's marriage. Israel told People magazine that he and Adrian spent an entire day deleting negative comments and blocking people on their Instagram accounts. He added, "There were multiple times I turned to her and said, 'You can walk away if this isn't worth it to you.'"
Okay. So first off, I want to acknowledge again that I am a Christian. I'm a non-traditional Christian, but I am a Christian. But I'm going to be very clear about that. I also understand the verbiage that a lot of Christians use when they're describing how God has them in uncomfortable positions and how sometimes they're going to be required to do something that they wouldn't traditionally do, but they feel led or moved by God. And none of us can really sit here and say whether or not someone is truly hearing from the Lord or not. I can never say that. I can only look at things on the outside and speculate. And as I grow older and as my walk with God becomes much more about me actually depending on him in the spiritual aspect versus performing religious patterns and things that I used to do, just going every Sunday, like I said, going to choir rehearsal, going to praise team rehearsal. Like I understand how God loves and sees me and cares about my every breath in a way that has nothing to do with religious works, and platitudes and piousness. Like a lot of that is things I have evolved past. But in the same token, when I hear certain language, I understand where it's coming from. So I can look at the situation on both aspects as a Christian who, like I said, believe that you're hearing from God, as well as more of a secular perspective where this just looks like, displacement, as well as 2 people who have gone through a lot of heartbreak, who have had a lot of failed relationships, meeting at the quote unquote perfect time and choosing to just want to have a fresh start. And it just so happened that it coincided with them deciding to romantically pursue each other, because there are reports saying, where Adrian has said out her own mouth, as you saw in the clip, that her and Israel have known each other for years. They were friends for years, but she never had him approach her. And then there's reports saying that they didn't know or really interact with each other until after his divorce of Melissa. I can 100% say that I believe 100%. I believe that there was some overlap. I can't say for sure because I wasn't there. But it appears like there was some overlap, especially if they truly were friends or in each other's lives for years. And what people tend to do when they're going through tough times in their marriage is they vent to their friend or whoever. And depending on the appropriateness of the relationship, of that friendship, you'll have people who end up having romantic and sexual relationships with the person they were venting to the most. And so this person knows what's going on because they was the main one the husband or wife was talking to during the marriage. So that happens so many times. It'll be the divorce lawyer, it'll be the ex best friend, it'll be the friend waiting in the wings, whether it's a woman or a man, that happens. And so I think that based off of Adrian's poor dating history and the fact that she has been in so many different, hold on, I have to sneeze. The fact that she has been in so many different relationships with men that were going to marry her or didn't marry her, or that she was in a long-term relationship, she got cheated on. I think that she was at a moment in her life where she was open to what women tend to do when they reach that phase, where they're open to non-conventional relationships. Oh, by the way, I just came back from vacation, so this is my suitcase that I am currently unpacking. So please pay no mind. If it bothers you, I apologize. Not really, but that's what that is. Just came home literally yesterday. Okay. But yeah, like sometimes women get to a point in their lives where something has not been working, their quote unquote type, or their methods of dating, or their ways in which they go about selecting partners. So they find themselves where they are open to non-conventional methods. That's why I say in the video that she was open to having a baby with her hairstylist, and sort of a like surrogate. I share this, you share that, so we both get what we want. Whenever women start being open to stuff like that, that is because they are reaching a point of desperation. I'm gonna just go ahead and be honest. Sperm donor situations, like that's a woman who not so much because she is so bad or so unworthy of love or she's unattractive. Sometimes it's just regardless of how fine you are, regardless of how well rounded and put together you are, you're not able to find men, or you're not able to find women that are compatible with you. And so regardless of what a quote unquote catch you may be, because you can't find what you're looking for, but you still want the baby, you still want all the other aspects of it, and because you feel alone, and a pet or a doll or whoever is not fulfilling that companionship, women will start going into unconventional methods to have their children, to have a companion. And that's a whole nother conversation. When you have situations where women are having kids because they're lonely, like that's crazy. A human having a whole human just because you lonely is really wild. But anyway, I believe that's what mindset she was in. Now, when you talk about Israel, Israel was at the height of his fame back in the early 2000s. Like I said, when he was touring around with New Breed. If you're unfamiliar with the whole Christian scene at that time, the whole Hillsong, travel worship, teen conference, purity conference, that whole thing was like hot as shit, right? So that was like the thing. And he was probably meeting all types of women, people, regardless of him being a gospel singer, he's still famous to these women. These women maybe were still fans of him. And so he's still having the quote unquote rock star rapper experience, even though he's in a Christian scene, because fame is fame, people are people, right? And so he was clearly knocking them down. He was doing what he wanted to do. And this whole time, he's been married to Melissa. Like, that's the woman that, quote unquote, Adrian, quote unquote, stole him from. So he was married to her and cheating on her and still dealing with Adrian. So that's, if you just look at the timeline, that's clearly what it appears to be. That's why I said there's some overlap, right? So anytime a woman, like I said, isn't it, considering non-conventional things stage in her life, that's when you realize you start talking to men who are married, right? And so I can say this: I have been beautiful all my life. I have been attractive all my life. I've been always able to attract men and date who I wanted to date. And yes, there was a time in my life where I was working at Miss Tootsie's Restaurant Bar and Lounge in Philadelphia. And I was the young hot hostess. And there was a man that would come in and he would constantly request me. He would always look for me because sometimes I worked at the bar. I don't know if you've ever worked in that type of situation, but sometimes you have to fill different hats depending on how busy the night is, especially on a Friday or Saturday night. And so he would always come in and request me. Long story short, he ended up hitting on me. I gave him my number. We were cool. We were courting. Everything was going well. One day I was in CVS right before it was after work, not before work. It was after work. Because on weekdays we closed at 5, so it was after work. I was in the CVS that was close to the restaurant. And I was, getting something. I heard his voice, so I, go up and down the aisle looking for him. I go up to him. I said, "Oh, hey, so and so. I didn't know what are you doing here." Mind you, he's acting like he's seen a ghost. Like his face is white. He's looking crazy, and there happens to be a little girl standing next to him. Long and behold, I come to find out that he's married and has 3 daughters. 3. Mind you, I've seen this man in Miss Tootsie's every Saturday night, sometimes Friday, all in other women's faces, including mine, no ring in sight. Okay? So this was a man clearly living a double life. And so I was getting to know him and I didn't even know he was married. And so immediately when we had our conversation after that encounter, I told him I wasn't interested. And he kept trying to convince me, "Oh, it's over. It's just like we're just going through the emotions. I have to be there for my daughters. I'm not going to leave her." He just had all this talk. And I just told him, like, listen, like, I don't date married men. I don't deal with married men. I don't even play that. I'm not even putting that out into the universe. That don't have nothing to do with me. If you want to actively cheat on your wife, you have to do that with somebody else. And so I let him go. And then he was, very upset about that. He kept coming. So, it took him a while to like get the picture that I really was not interested in dealing with him. I mean, he was an attractive man. He had money. He had all the things on the outside that I'm sure he was able to quickly find another woman to replace me that was willing to deal with him being married. But as I said, when women are in a desperate stage, like their desperation is really taking over, they don't pick up on things and see things as they should. And that's why a lot of times I don't even believe and go with that whole girl thing. Women are typically girls until they are faced with a situation where they have a woman standing in the way of what they want, or they have to compete with a woman, or they have to think. That's usually when all that sisterhood, girl shit go out the window. Okay? Women will actively know a man is married and still mess with him. Know a man has a girlfriend and still deal with him. Okay? Know he had kids, everything else, and be like, "Oh, well, he's not the one. I'm sorry, I'm not the one that's committed. He is." Women will real life say this shit and then turn around and be heartbroken when they get cheated on. Not understanding that what you sow into the universe is what you will get back. But I think Adrienne is willing to put up with it, or was willing to engage with a married man because she was desperate. And not desperate. See, a lot of times people think desperate and correlate with an ugly or unattractive or downtrodden. Sometimes the most desperate people are the people who on the outside have the package. They have everything, the looks, the money, the career. They have all the things, but they, for whatever reason, cannot find anyone they can be compatible with. And so they get desperate. They get into this season where they're just like, "Well, I'll just try anything at this point." And then Israel, he's like, "Okay, well, if you're willing to do it, if you all right then, like, hey, are they possibly, honoring God with their marriage now?" And, because I know now they do tours where they sing music, worship and gospel music in Spanish, and they do like whole, like live studio recordings of it. Like now they're in ministry together as husband and wife. And is it possible that God is pleased with them? I don't know. I couldn't personally tell you, but I can for sure say that if how you got a man is usually how you will lose him. And like I said, because his something is wrong with his character, to where it's possible that he does not know how to remain faithful past the newness of a relationship, because that's typically what it is. Those type of people who are cheating, they always cheat, and they always looking for somebody else. They just, even when nothing is wrong, they just can't be happy. They can't focus on what they have. They can't focus on their kids. They can't. Those are people who, they don't actually like relationships. They don't actually like being married and having a commitment. They like the newness of it. So the freshness of it, the new pussy, the new feeling, the new love, the new butterflies. And then once that fades, they're like, "Oh, whew, I'm bored. Like, when is it time for me to, when we gonna break up? Like, what's happening?" So that's probably a little what was going on with him. And then so the other harsh truth is Has he matured past that? And is he in a stage in his life now where, because he's done so much damage to so many other women, that he is now willing to no longer do that? Has he actually changed? And that's a hard pill to swallow a lot of time for women, to realize that a man was with you and he was fucking up and treating you bad and lying to you and all this other stuff, and but you just loved him so much and you would just wait for him to change, and then you find out he get with the next woman and now he's an upstanding guy. And it's hard as a woman to accept the fact that sometimes you are a stepping stone in a man's life. Like, you're just there to teach him what not to do for the next woman. That is absolutely devastating. But is it a possibility that his relationship with Adrian, his marriage with Adrian, is his final one? And he's willing to do what he needs to do, what he should have always been doing, because he's tired of the drama and the issues that come from, having the drama of being a cheater. Like, who knows? But man, listen. And I hope that, for both Israel and Adrian's sake, that he has learned his lesson and matured as a grown man. And because really he would be too old to still be doing this shit. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this topic, on this conversation. Get below. Tell me what you think, what you feel. What are your thoughts? After you're done telling me how you feel, don't forget to like or thumbs up this video and subscribe if you would like to stick around. I have a lot of people who keep coming back and watch my videos, but you're not subscribed. I don't know why, Bill. Don't you want to stick around? Don't you want to see what else I got to offer? I don't know. Maybe you don't. But hey, please give my video a like and subscribe to my channel. It helps me out. But yes, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.